Welcome to Aiken this week. I'm Emery Langston. Well, today we are going to be talking with two of our gentlemen who work for our public utilities and engineering department here for the city of Aiken. And every day our employees across the city work very hard to ensure that the infrastructure that we have in the city is working properly. Our water lines and our sanitary sewer lines, and we're going to be talking about two programs that really affects. So very pleased today to have Danny Breaker, who is our engineering technician for the Cross Connection Control Officer.
Yes.
And Troy Spann, who is our fog inspector and our utility technician.
Yes.
And so I thank you for taking a few minutes to talk to us today about these very important programs that we have going on in the city. So we're just going to jump right in, and Danny, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
And you're a 19-year veteran with the city of Aiken. So if you want to give us any about your a little bit about your background before we kind of hit the ground running, that would be great.
Thank you, Emma. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Danny Breaker. I've been at the city for 19 years, almost 20 years now. Came in as a meter tech, moved up the ranks, and now I'm a backflow inspector, engineer tech. And basically that backflow program consists of just maintaining and protecting the water system.
Very good, very good. Well, let's just jump right in and talk about what is cross control? What is the cross connection control? I'm sorry.
Okay. Basically, the cross connection control program is like a permanent or temporary connection where you make non-potable water connect with potable water, and that's like any type of non-potable. What I mean is like some type of chemical-induced line.
Okay.
Whenever you do that, you make the water unsafe and undrinkable.
Right.
So what we try to do is try to prevent that from happening.
Sure.
And putting your drinking water at risk.
Sure. So why is it important for water suppliers to prevent this backflow?
Again, it's the same thing. It's very important because a lot of people are doing things at their home, for example, like you're submerging a water hose into a bucket,
Sure.
sink, tub, or pool at your home like that, and you have a loss of pressure. That loss of pressure will allow the water back siphonage back into the main line. Then somebody will be complaining about they're sick from the taste of the water.
Okay.
And that's where the water seep back into the main line, and it just runs on down line.
So what is this preventer? What is the backflow preventer? Can you kind of walk us through what that is?
Yeah, a backflow preventer is not more than the means or mechanism that prevents the backflow of water or the pressure. It's like a loss of pressure. Normally that occurs when you have a water main break.
Okay.
Or the local fire department are out flushing the fire hydrant and stuff like that. Once they do that, it pulls anything in that line back out because there's such a strong force of pressure moving that water at the time. So basically the backflow is when you have loss of pressure, anything in that line pulls back.
Okay, it's a suction.
There's a suction there, so it causes that effect to happen.
So now, is this a device? Is there a device that where the device is normally installed, I guess?
For a simple lawn irrigation at a home, for example, you normally find those right behind the water meter on the homeowner's side of the water meter. If it's like a business or something like that, you'll find them either at the meter pit, which is right out front of the business at the right of way. They're required to have a backflow device at the fire sprinkler line as well. Those are normally installed inside the building.
Oh.
Yeah, once they do that, they're protecting the fire sprinkler line and the irrigation as well. A lot of homeowners will call and say, why do I have to have one at my house?
Sure.
You know, and you have to go out and explain to them that if you have an in-ground irrigation system installed, a lot of people putting fertilizer out. When those heads come up for the sprinkler to run, then when it cuts off, it pulls around the nozzle. If you don't have any type of backflow preventer on your line, that's getting back into your drinking water. And then if it's getting back into your drinking water, it's going to get back into your main line. And then your neighbors are going to say, hey, my water tastes funny. Is your water taste funny? No. And then when you do your research and they call me and I go looking and I find there's no protection on that line, it came from them irrigating the line, their yards and everything with no protection on it. So DHEC came out in 2003 and said, look, we need to protect irrigation lines with the backflow devices. So basically, backflow device ain't nothing but a way to prevent the water from going back, whether you want to separate it an air gap, meaning separation between the two lines,
right.
or you want to put in some type of what we call a backflow device, which is a mechanism that has to be tested. And once we do the testing on that, it's normally due for residential. We require them to be tested every 2 years. If it's a commercial type backflow device, we want them tested every year because they're more like inducing the lines more than the average homeowner.
Sure. Well, you mentioned that the back in it was 2003
Yes.
for the home irrigation. How long has this program itself been in place, and have we seen an evolution with it? Like, did it start out in the commercial and then evolve?
It started out in the commercial, and then it's more and more with the things that's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
DHEC took notice to that. So we need to start protecting the homeowners' interests on all levels.
Sure.
And where the homeowners get protected, there's like, it's like an outside spigot for your water hose. They can put a hose bib on that. A lot of people still want to wash their cars, but they want to stick the hose pipe down in the bucket. When you do that, you're subject to being submerged in the hose, and it's going to come back on you.
Sure.
Right.
You know, and if you're in the house trying to get water, if your daughter, somebody's in the house trying to get water at the spigot, and it comes out sudsy, that's why.
How about that?
Because it starts to circulate once it's being submerged.
Well, what types of devices are commonly used in the Aiken area?
In the Aiken area, you normally find what they call a double check valve.
Okay.
Double check valve is what you find on low hazard. What I mean by low hazard, minimal chemical fed, basic stuff, nothing that's really harmful to your health. A RP device, a reduced pressure device, we find those on high hazards. When I say high hazards, I'm talking about hospitals,
Okay.
funeral homes, people that use some type of chemicals and stuff that can be hazardous to your health.
Sure.
So we find those a lot around here in Aiken.
Sure, and that would be, I guess, more on the higher ones would be more on a commercial
Right.
Situation.
Correct.
And then the other ones would be more for a residential or more lower risk.
Right.
Yes.
I guess
Lower risk.
for
It would be a lower risk.
Right.
lower risk situation.
Correct.
Well, how with the backflow devices? I mean, you mentioned that they have to be tested
Correct.
every so often. What does that involve, and how? What is that?
Okay. Normally, I get a call from a homeowner. They
Okay.
want to know what the testing is, just like what you're referring to. They'll come out to a plumber. Most plumbers here in the South Carolina, Aiken area, they are certified to test. You have to go through a 3-day class up in Columbia through DHEC to get certified to test them. For a homeowner, they come out and they do like a 1 PSI check. They want to make sure the check valves inside that backflow device will withhold 1 PSI pressure. They do that, and then they'll send me a copy of the report. And they do the same thing on the RP device. It's a little bit more different. They got to maintain, on the check valve 1, you got to be able to maintain at least 5 PSI. On the 2 check valve of the system, it has to have like 1, and then there's a relief valve.
Oh, okay.
A relief valve on RP allows that device to spit the water out the bottom. It releases pressure.
Okay.
It lets it out. That has to maintain a PSI too. All that. Once that's done, they'll send me a copy of the report again, and then I update my system. And then every year for commercial, I send them a letter.
Sure.
And for the homeowners, I send them a letter every 2 years.
Okay.
They have them tested.
Okay. All right. Is that something with backflow with new construction? I mean, is that something that's automatically done? How do we know in our residential areas that we need that?
Normally, I review the plans over on the engineering side of the house. And when I review the plan, they tell me what they're going to be doing.
Okay.
A lot of the newer neighborhood subdivisions, for example, they want to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood.
Sure.
By automatically putting backflow devices in the ground, irrigations in the line.
Sure.
At that time, as soon as they get through the construction out there, they have to get a certificate of occupancy from the building and planning department. If they do that, they'll notify me and they'll send me a copy of the report saying that the proper test has been performed at that
Okay.
particular location.
Okay. So in our older neighborhoods around town, that somebody, let's say they just bought a house and they're like in the yard hadn't had an irrigation system in it ever, and they think, well, they're going to try to improve the property there, and they put in an irrigation system. This would definitely be something that they would want to check with you about before they went forward to do something like that.
Yes, that's correct. And what I do a lot of meetings with my plumbers, irrigation installers, different agencies throughout the city of Aiken, and they know the requirements.
Sure.
If you're going to install in-ground irrigation, that's one of the main requirements that you have to do is install a backflow device. and send an update to me, the report.
Sure. Well, can somebody use a well instead of our city system?
You can use a well in the city limit, but it has to stay for irrigation purposes only.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're out in the county and city services are available,
Okay.
you have the option. You
Okay.
can either go either or, but you can't have the two that can connect at the same time at no time.
Right, because I know we have a lot of areas in our city that have county areas
Yes.
Right.
throughout
Yes.
our little donut holes.
Right. And
Right.
so that puts me out there a little bit more to do a little bit more surveying.
Sure.
A lot of old neighborhoods, like I say, you got a lot of people doing upgrades, changes, and stuff like that. They want to go to wells, and they'll give me a call, let me know what they're doing, and I'll go out and look at it, assess the area and stuff like that, and I tell them what they need and don't need and stuff like that. The way the options are,
Sure.
to be more feasible to them.
Now, if someone needed a backflow device, if they have a well, does that still apply?
Yes, it does apply because you'll find some areas where they say, "Well, I'm gonna put a well in now," and they tend to want to tie both lines together to cut back on paying for a water bill.
Sure.
So if they decide to do that and don't notify the city, I'm mandating that they put in a backflow device because I don't want to compromise the other users of the water system.
Sure, absolutely.
And then I require them to get those tested more on an annual basis then
Sure.
to make sure they're working properly.
And doing what needs to be done.
Correct, right.
Well, there's so much more that goes into this than I ever knew. I mean, it's keeping the integrity of our water system, and this has been something that's, taken the national spotlight is the condition of ensuring the safety of our water supply that, we've been hearing about. But there's a lot that really goes into maintaining the integrity of our systems and structures, and I know that this is something that you really have to constantly keep up with.
Yes, it's a keeping me busy 24/7.
Yeah.
When I say 24/7, that's
Yes.
including the weekend and the holidays. It's like if you got, I know about 15, 20 years ago when they had the Carlisle plant that caught fire, well, they didn't have a proper backflow mechanism on that system.
Really?
We didn't.
And that's why the whole north side was contaminated.
Right.
And they had to they had to go back out and treat that line for months and months. We had truck
line.
water in
Yeah.
for the resident to have drinking water because
Oh,
there
my
was no
goodness.
protection. And that's another prime example of how important it is to have some type of a backflow preventer
Sure.
in place because you don't want that to happen.
We have to protect the integrity of the system.
Yes.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we are the protectors of citizens.
That's right.
When citizens are sleeping, we're working.
Correct.
That's right.
That's
We're
right.
getting calls in the middle of the night. We're the ones that go on the front line, and before we call in people on the front line,
Right.
we have to go out and inspect to make sure those things are properly installed or properly working. Because if they're not, then we got to make sure that they are taken care of.
Right. Because it's about the safety of our citizens.
Got to
and-
make sure our citizens are safe.
Right.
Yes.
And
That's
then-
our number one priority.
That's right.
As
Absolutely.
inspectors.
Absolutely. Well, Danny, anything else that you can think of, and how would somebody get in touch with you if they had any questions?
Basically, I want to let everybody know that you can reach me at, if you have any questions about backflow control, you need me to inspect your property or anything like that, any questions, you can reach me at 803-642-7610. If you want to email me, you can email me at dbreaker@cityofaikensc.gov.
Very good. Thanks, Danny. And I think, Troy, you gave us a perfect segue to start talking about your program.
Yes.
So you are involved with, and I found this very intriguing when we first started talking about y'all coming on and
Right.
talking for Aiken this week about the FOG program. And I didn't know anything about the FOG program, and so I thought that we were going to be talking about some type of FOG program.
Right.
But really, we're going to be talking about fats, oils, and greases.
Yes.
And again, this is a program that is to protect the integrity of our infrastructure and how we can do that. So if you just kick us off and tell us about this program and why it's important.
Well, it's a very important. The FOG program is a program we're upgrading because it's been in existence for years, but we just actually going from enforcing it to going out talking with food establishment, churches, nursing homes, and letting them know that we're trying to take better care of our sanitary sewer system. it affects our sanitary sewer system in astronomical ways. Perfect example, if, let's say, a grocery store fries a lot of chicken and fish, and they cook inside, and they don't have a grease trap, whenever they wash any dishes or anything that has oil, it goes into the sanitary sewer system. Well, that sanitary sewer system backs up. It not only affects the store, it affects the whole neighborhood because all those other taps that's on that line are clogged.
Right.
That's why we have a fall program.
Well, and I think with both of your programs, education is so key.
Exactly.
Because I didn't know what the fog program, but knowing that, oh, yeah, when I'm at home, or I mean, and I know that you deal a lot with commercial, and we're going to talk about that, but just being aware as a homeowner, how these things and how these steps can really affect everybody.
Right.
So I know it is really important. So what are grease trap interceptors? How do we protect?
A grease trap is a small box. When I say a small box, it's a small metal box.
Okay.
It goes in between 4 pounds up to 100 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Okay, grease is measured in pounds.
Oh.
It's a liquid, but it's measured in pounds when you
Okay.
talk about a grease trap.
Okay.
It's just a small little trap that catches, it lets water, oil go. The water continue to flow, but it has little baffles inside of it.
Okay.
And those baffles actually catches the oil and maintains it because oil floats.
That's right.
Water continue to go, and those baffles stops the oil. And over time, it'll solidify, and then at least once a month, it has to be cleaned.
Once a month.
Once a month. Whoever has that grease trap inside their building has to clean it.
Okay.
Or they can clean it, or they can have a commercial hauler come in and clean it for them.
Okay.
Now, a grease interceptor is outside.
Okay.
Most people wouldn't even know where it is, but if you ever go to a restaurant and you just say, oh, I want to know. Look for two manholes that are so close to each other. You're like, why are they so close? What it is, it's a concrete vault.
Oh.
And then that concrete vault, it's the same exact thing as a grease trap, but it's on a larger scale.
Oh.
The largest that I know of in the city of Aiken right now is a 2,000-gallon tank, but they can go up to 3,000 or 4,000 gallons because you can get 2 tanks and add them together.
Oh my goodness.
It depends on what application that they're being used for.
Sure, and the size of the business,
The size of the business,
the production
how
that's
much
happening.
oil and grease they're using. You may have a chicken place that's frying chicken, or you
Sure.
may have a restaurant that's does nothing but make steaks. You may have, that's 2 different.
Sure.
So you have 2 different devices that you have
Sure.
to use.
Sure. Well, what are the common types of fats, oils, and greases?
You got cooking oil,
Okay.
which is canola oil, vegetable oil,
Sure.
peanut oil. Also, you have oil that comes off of meat. You fry bacon, you fry hamburger meat, you fry sausage. It's a oil. Those oils go into our sanitary sewer system. Once they cool, they solidify.
Okay.
And once they get solid, it causes backups.
Right.
And those backups cause problems for everyone. And it destroys the integrity of our system.
Sure. So when they solidify, it's a clog.
It's a clog, it's a backup.
Right.
And then we start having the calls.
We get a call, then we have to get our truck to go out and unclog the line. But before we can get there, it's raw, baby raw sewage running out. It may just be water running out. It can run into your house, it can run into your yard, it can run inside of a business. That's why we have to have this fall program to prevent those things.
Absolutely. And I guess even when you have to find it.
We have to find it. That's why we go. I go out and do inspections. I can walk into a business and I walk in. I say, "How you doing? My name's Troy Spann. I'm here from the city of Aiken. I'm a fat oil and grease inspector." And you walk inside. You walk through the facility. Look and see if they have an inside grease trap. And they may not have one. All right, we need to walk around outside, and they have one outside. I look at it, I look inside of it, okay, it needs to be clean. But they also have oil containers. Most people don't realize that 90% of all restaurants have an oil container somewhere. They may be out by their trash cans, some of them have them inside the buildings. And inside those buildings, they have like a automatic switch that they can hit that drains anything that they're cooking with oil. And they have a hauler that comes in and takes those. that oil away.
Really?
Yes. Not all grease goes down the drain. They actually catches it and takes it and put it into an oil container.
What type of contractor would take something like that?
You have a variety of companies that are coming. I can't name them on camera, but those companies come in. They buy the oil from the restaurants,
Okay.
or the food establishment.
Okay.
They take it and they may turn it into soap. They may turn it into diesel fuel.
Okay.
Those companies that does the biofuel, they are the ones that come and buy or
Okay.
get those oils from the food establishment.
Okay.
So that's how it's being disposed of in the correct manner. That's what the city wants. We want to make sure, my job is to make sure that it is being disposed of in a correct manner.
Okay. Okay, so we talked about that grease traps
Right.
have to be cleaned out once a month.
A grease interceptor at a minimum has to be cleaned once every 3 months or 12 weeks. And I say that's a minimum
Right.
for right now.
Right.
But if your establishment has a continued problem, the city has the discretion of changing that. I can go and say, okay,
Sure.
it needs to be done once every 2 months or once a month. It depends on how much grease your establishment is producing.
Sure.
Right.
Now, Troy, with everything that the rules and the regulations that you have to follow,
Right.
is that coming down from the state?
It's a city ordinance.
It's
We
a
have a
city
city
ordinance.
ordinance,
Okay.
which the state has talked with the city and said, listen, you have to protect the sanitary sewer
Sure.
system, because if the city allows the sanitary sewer system to be destroyed, then the state's gonna come talk to the city and say,
Yes.
listen, you're not doing what you're supposed
That's
to
right.
do. Our sewer, the city doesn't keep the sewer. We actually send our sewer to the BP. I think it's the. I can't say it. It's the authority, the
Okay.
sewer authority.
Okay.
And they make sure that whatever they get, we're sending them. If it has a lot of fats and oil, they'll let us know, because they know which lines belong to where and how it's coming in.
Okay, so they're checking on
They're
that.
checking on us to making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be
Okay.
doing, to make sure there's not a lot of oils and grease coming down to their facility.
So there's lots of checks.
It's a lot of checks in
Yeah.
place.
We
We have a
get-
lot of checks and balances.
Yes.
Yeah, we get audited by DHEC a lot. When they want to come in and see the programs and stuff,
Right.
they want to make sure we're doing everything on the local level.
Sure.
And in turn, we have to follow their guidelines. Then we come up with our program. So once we do those checks and everything, we know we're in line with doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Right. Right. And then even after it passes a certain level with y'all are, it's even getting
It's still another check and balance.
It's another
in place.
check. Yeah.
Sure.
It's another check.
Well, I mean, I think that's great to ensure that things are being handled appropriately all the way down the line.
Yes.
Yes.
We're here to protect the citizens of Aiken.
Well, and y'all are doing a fantastic job, and it's a lot to keep up with. Any type of regulatory, because you have to keep up with the laws and if there's changing rules and regulations. I'm
Right.
sure that you have to pass those along to
Right.
your businesses and residents and make sure everybody is educated.
Right. Every food establishment or any business that I go to, I leave a policy for whatever type unit they have.
Right.
So if you got a grease trap, I have a policy for the inside grease trap. If you have an outside one, I got a policy for your outside grease interceptor. And I also have a policy for your oil, letting you know that it needs to be hauled off once a month or maintained, and that it doesn't overflow
Sure.
and get on the ground. The most important thing that my job is to make sure that it not only goes through the system correctly, but it
Right.
doesn't get on the ground.
Right.
The FOG program not only protects the sanitary sewer, but it also protects the stormwater.
Right.
Because if oil is running on the ground and it gets into the stormwater system, it'll solidify in that stormwater system. Okay, and if we have a big storm come through,
Right.
then the water can't go.
Now you got a lot of
And
flooding
then now
in.
you have roads that are blocked
Right.
because it's solid grease in there. So my job is to make sure that the city's infrastructure on 2 different phases are well maintained.
Yeah, and functioning as properly as they
Function
can.
is-
Because, I mean, just the littlest thing, and it
The
adds
littlest thing.
up. And then
Yeah.
it causes all kinds of money problems, time issue
Right.
problems.
Right.
So, so many reasons why these things have to run smoothly, and we
Right.
take that for granted. I think,
Yeah.
well, we don't really know. You know, you pass by the stormwater drains every day,
Every day.
but you don't think about what a service that they do provide when we
Right.
do have that heavy rain,
Right.
or when we flush our toilets in our house to make sure that that sanitary sewer is going where it's supposed to,
Right.
and that
Right.
our water table and our water is protected, and that we're getting the cleanest.
Because that,
Water that we
again,
can.
if oil comes out and gets into stormwater, and it gets into a stream, or if it gets into, a pond, where does it go? If we using our water supply as above ground water supply and it has oil in it, then the water plant has to work twice as hard
Right.
to clean that water. So it's all phases. Our inspection job, it's one of the biggest checks and balances that the city has in place.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well, you both are doing a fantastic job. Almost 20-year veteran, 18-year veteran, and doing a great job for the city of Aiken. Gentlemen, as we're wrapping up today, anything that, Troy, we have not asked you how we can get in touch with you about the FOG program.
You can get in contact with me about the fall program at 803-293-7841. That's my office number. You can call, leave a message if I'm not in. Also, you can reach me at my email address at tspan@cityofaiken.sc.gov. Shoot me an email and I'll get right back with you and come out and do an inspection. Also, in the coming months, we're going to be rolling out our residential program.
Okay.
So just be on the lookout for that, because I'm working on that now.
Okay.
And I'm implementing a few things with apartment complexes,
Okay.
because most apartment complexes do not have, if you live in an apartment complex that only has 1 meter that feeds the whole complex, then the apartment complex is responsible for
Sure.
the sewer and the water. So I'm rolling out a program starting with them,
Okay.
working on the residential and making sure everything's well.
All right. Well, Troy, we're going to have you back
Okay.
so that you can unveil that to us on
I'll
Aiken this
happily
week.
come back.
That'll
we'll
be
happily
great.
come back.
So now, as we're wrapping up, anything that we have forgotten to talk about today?
No, just
Y'all covered it very well and gave me an education on things, on processes that I thought, I knew a little something about, that it makes me feel very good that there are so many checks and balances in place for our infrastructure that we do need to take care of. So, gentlemen, thank you both so much for taking a few minutes today and talking to me, and I look forward to having you both back in the future.
thank you, Emery.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
it.
much. And we thank you for joining us today on Aiken This Week, and we'll see you next time.